Hello, beautiful light-skinned ladies. Welcome to the channel. If you're watching the replay, thank you so much for watching. This is completely unplanned. I am just venting. There's been a lot going on in these YouTube streets. And yeah, I'm just feeling a little frustrated all of the with all of the drama happening online and offline as well. And I feel like now is the time, like it's the perfect time for me to just go ahead and jump out of blackness. If you don't know already, my ancestry is actually on my YouTube channel. So I made a video about my ancestry and I found out that I was like somewhere close to 25% European, so technically mixed, right? And because of I realized that, okay, this is why I've always kind of felt a little bit different. I already look different than, stereotypical Black people. My mother and my siblings, we all had very unique experiences that I feel like are marginalized within the overall like narrative of what Black people experience with being Black in America. But I never really did give it much thought, even when I made that video. I didn't really think much of it. I was like, okay, well, I've always identified as a Black woman, so I probably always will. And then in America, race is just very different. We still have one drop rule mentality in America. And though it's not like enforced or anything, I feel like it's one of those things that's just passed down from generation to generation. But the reason why I'm reflecting on it now is because of the things happening in social media and also just in my personal life as well. Like I have seen, so am going to go live eventually and talk about New Trophy Wife, but that to me was kind of like a wake up call because her audience, if I'm not mistaken, was mostly Black women. And there has not been a day since she made that video that I haven't seen a new video pop up from a Black female content creator talking about, oh, she's not even Black, she's mixed, like that has anything to do with anything. But apparently it does. Apparently the way that you look, the tone of your skin has a lot to do with how Black people are going to treat you, the way that they're going to show up for you in a time of need. Hey, Exotical Honey, it's nice to see you. How are you doing? Happy holidays. Oh yeah, and happy holidays, you guys. I'm sorry, I forgot to say happy holidays. That's another thing I want to get into. Thanksgiving. I was just talking about how you know, being mixed or even being mixed presenting or being light skinned, being MLS, a lot of us have these experiences with other Black people in our family or in the community where we will support everyone. We will, work day in and day out to breathe life into other people and to, support the people we care about, whether it be our family, our friends, or just other Black people in general, which I also consider like people like New Trophy Wife to be one of those people. They just give and give and give and give, breathe in life. But when it comes time to support us, when we're in need, when we need support, we become like a joke. We become the laughing stock, and it just really broke my heart seeing what happened to New Trophy Wife, and it was really triggering. And I've had to take a lot of time to really think about how I want to respond, and I will be responding because I'm not one of those rollover type of people. I like to stand up for myself and people who look like me. But it really hurt me because I was able to see parallels or like correlations between what she was experiencing and kind of what I have experienced in the theme of Black people not being there to support you when you need it as a light-skinned Black woman, and instead like making fun of you or making jokes about you or doing, this weird little sneaky stuff, sneak disses, where you're expected to be perfect, and you're looked at weird because you need help. And you must be lying because clearly you shouldn't have let this happen to you because you have some magical privilege from being light skinned. And I don't want to go into too much detail into it now, but now we're approaching the holidays, and I've just been thinking about all the times where me and mine, we were in need, like myself or my mom were in need, and the people who like helped us. And it just breaks my heart to realize that there is this pattern of skin tone actually mattering to people. And I don't know what is going through their heads, but it's like they just don't see us the same. And yeah, they just don't see us, they don't see us the same. They don't see us exactly the same at all. I think about the experiences that my brother had. He's also light skinned. Um, he was never treated like the black man that he is. And I say the black man that he is because, again, we live in America where the one drop rule, it is still alive and kicking. Again, it's passed down, and it's passed down from generation to generation. We're just accustomed to identifying as black, but things have to change. And I'm just kind of going on a rant. So this holiday season for Thanksgiving, I really am just going to be sticking with my own immediate family. Yeah, jumping out of blackness can definitely be a safety measure for light-skinned people in these cases. Exotical honey. Yeah, that's what I'm starting to learn. This is gonna be like my first time ever fully, I want to say fully, but jumping out of blackness to this extent where I'm not even putting myself in black spaces or putting myself in black family spaces. Like Thanksgiving, I'm just staying with my mom and my partner and my baby. Another thing too, as a light skinned woman who is a mother, when you see other black people treat your kid differently because they're light skinned, like that hits different. Like that is just a huge wake up call. Um, but yeah, that's where I'm coming from with this. I'm kind of just like freaking out right now. Even the exotical drama that's going on right now with Kia Roan, or however you say her name, like flipping and turning on the exotical space. It's like, and you're a dark skinned woman, like, why did you have to do this? Like, I constantly see this pattern of people who are, darker complected, you know, they turn on us. They're turning on us. And I know she was basically saying that there were some people in our space that were colors or whatever, but she didn't say who. She didn't say who it was. So this is just crazy for me. And then I see black people online, like black women online on TikTok, going absolutely crazy over every little single thing and politicizing everything. And that's why I made that other video saying that, I'm not going to put myself in black spaces or in monoracial spaces, because at this point, I feel like even a monoracial white space would not be safe for me because of the political climate. But yeah, let me see what you're saying in the comments. Unambiguous black people said they rejected one drop rule now, mainly to kick out mixed light skinned women. That's fine. We can willingly leave. Yeah. And I am all for it. I'm all for it because honestly, growing up, it was so weird. I was in the black community, but I wasn't. So like I was in the black church, I was raised in a very pro black environment. But my mom, my light skinned mom, she did a great job of protecting me from some of the isms and the just the brainwashing that comes with being in such a pro black religious space, to the point where she even took me out of the church and just focused on teaching me about Jesus. You know, she was a very strict mother, but looking back, I mean, she was very strict and she was very fun. But looking back, I understand why she did what she did because she didn't want me to experience what she had to experience as a light skinned, very light skinned Black girl growing up in the 70s and the 80s. So, half the stuff that, a lot of us light skinned Black women have to deal with, I didn't even have to experience that growing up because of her, because she kind of like protected me from that. But now, as an adult, I'm starting to see I have to take it a step further. Like I want to control, who's in my circle. I want to control who my audience is, everything like that. And if I get called colorist for it or prejudiced for it, so be it. But I think it's important for people to figure out what they what their identity means. And here's the thing: unambiguous Black people online love talking about how mixed people and light skinned people have identity issues. But that's because Black people have identity issues. Like the whole Black experience, especially the Black American experience, is one of constant identity crisis. The thing about racism is that you constantly have to prove and explain your existence and your identity and show that you're worthy. That is innately an identity crisis. So I always think that's funny that they accuse us of having identity issues, but they can't even figure out what percentage of African DNA do you need to be fully Black or be considered monoracial. And that's caused a lot of stress on all Black people, I feel like. And that's the thing, like even my mom is considering like moving out of the country, things like that, because as a light skinned woman, there are certain things that you just don't have to think about when you leave America. You don't have to think about someone assuming that you're fast and provocative or assuming that, you're weak or whatever because you're light skinned or targeting you because you're light skinned. And I'm not saying that there are not colorist men in other cultures, but I feel like globally, as a light skinned woman, meaning you could be very fair skinned or you could be, brown skin. I consider that light skin. That's kind of just seen as like normal. Like people are not sensationalizing your skin tone and politicizing your skin tone in a lot of other countries, not to the same extent that it's politicized and sensationalized in America. It's just really tiring to be a light skinned woman right now. Um, yeah, it's really tiring. She says, I love your video about being in multicultural spaces. That was such a wise lifestyle choice. Thank you, Exotical Honey. Yeah, I realized that that's kind of naturally what I've been gravitating to slowly over the past 10 years of my life, like since I was a teenager, especially with becoming Hindu. And it's so funny that you said that because I'm actually going to a Thanksgiving dinner with my Hindu family. Another interesting thing is that in that space, you have a lot of Indian women married to white men, or white women married to Indian men, Black men married to Indian women, Black women married to, like, you have a lot of interracial mixing in that space, and there are a lot of children who are mixed race as well, which I thought was so interesting. And I really do feel more insulated and protected in those kinds of environments, especially being a mom of a light skinned boy, because I know no one's going to attack him. No one's going to attack my little light skinned baby in that space simply because he's light skinned. As long as I keep him in that space, he's never going to have to deal with what my younger brother had to deal with when dealing with, dark skinned Black boys or just Black boys in general. Because, in those spaces, being multicultural or being mixed is almost seen as the norm. And then beyond that, from a spiritual perspective, we don't even put so much emphasis on the physical body anyways. Oh, Exoticals United is here. Hey girl. Yeah, I'm live. I'm just venting. So sorry guys if I sound a little off. I'm just gonna warn you guys now, I'm triggered. So if I start like spiraling or anything, I warned you. I warned you. Exotical Honey says, I pass as non-black outside of America. I'm safe brown, universally brown, so people think I'm Pacific Islander or Southeast Asian. Both are in my DNA, so I love it. Oh my God, that's so beautiful. Yeah, the safe brown. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, in America, like we are brainwashed to believe that our skin tone, whether it be a safe brown skin tone or a light brown skin tone, is problematic, or like it comes with some type of problem. Like if you're dark skinned, then you're gonna have to deal with being discriminated against. If you're brown skinned, then you have to deal experiencing both sides of the spectrum. And then if you're light skinned, like you're being attacked by your own people, but like just like leave America, just like leave that community altogether, and you don't even have to think about it. And I know some people are going to be like, oh, well, you're trying to run away from your heritage. You're trying to run away from your blackness. Look, my identity is in my family, my immediate family, the experiences that we've had together, the lessons that I have learned from my mother and my father, what I have been teaching my son, my little 3-year-old baby, and my network and my spiritual community. So outside of that, I don't care anymore. I absolutely don't care anymore because everyone else outside of that is confused. They are confused. They don't know anything about me. They don't know anything about me, and that's their problem. If some YouTuber online wants to think that I'm a colorist, that's fine. That's their battle. They're going to have to chew on that. And it's so funny because when I was in high school, I dated this guy that was super into the Black experience and reading stuff by who was that, Franz Fanon and things like that, reading about the ontological death of Black people. And me myself being raised pro-Black, I was so angry at him for even entertaining that type of material. That Black people are downtrodden or that we're psychologically damaged, stuff like that. But the more and more that I learned about that, the more and more I realized that, look, if there is a system, which there is, that oppresses Black people and it's causing us psychological harm, right? I can't do anything about those people who are racist. I can't do anything about the institutions that make it more difficult for, Black people or Black mixed people to get access to resources like, economic resources, jobs, education. But what I can do is do everything within my power to increase my intellectual capital. So I started doing things at a very young age, like, practicing other languages, studying Japanese, studying Spanish, reading about what life is like outside of just what I know so that it would be easier for me to connect with people. And it actually did work. I grew up in a very impoverished neighborhood, and when when it was time for me to go to high school, which is a determining factor of what college you will go to, actually, because not all high schools are created equally. They allowed me to attend not because you live in the area, but because I was able to prove that, hey, I can do this rigorous curriculum. So they actually broke the rules for me because of that. And yeah, were they racist? Yes, they were racist, but I did everything I could to try to not let that affect me, and it did not get in the way of achieving what my goal was, which was to get to college. I did that and, have a higher education. I actually got an international education because of that experience. But my point is that at some point we have to just accept that people are racist, people are prejudiced. Like that's just a fact. The question is, what are you going to do for yourself? Stop trying to rely on, this white man or this black person to build you up, to breathe life into you, to respect you, because in this climate, in this country, in this world, you have people that are just full of hatred and prejudice. So yeah, that's my take on that. Exotical Honey says, I love living in Japan because of this. There are Japanese people darker than me. Wow, there are. Okay. So skin tone doesn't matter to people. Culture is more important. Yeah, that's another thing too. Like, see, I'm so ignorant that I didn't even know that there are Japanese people that are, darker than the safe brown skin tone. I know that there are mixed Japanese people, but I think I don't know. Do Japanese people tan? I'm so sure that they do. I want to know. Do Japanese people tan? I should probably make a video like, do light skinned people tan? Because I just feel like people are receiving propaganda about other demographics and like don't know what to think. And I receive propaganda that shows like Japanese people are very fair skinned or very light skinned, but do Japanese people tan? But yeah, I've been, I'm just done. I'm jumping out of blackness. Yeah, it is cool that they can be dark skinned. Yeah, I'm jumping out of blackness, like, and I'm not trying to run away from anything. It's really, I'm running towards something, right? Because to run away from something would mean that you're trying to escape a bad situation. I don't really see it that way. It's more of like, there's no reason for me to be here, you know? And then even then with that argument, okay, if I am running away, so what? Be it like, who wouldn't run away from being disparaged like every 5 seconds on social media and in real life? Who wouldn't run away from that, right? And I know some people, they like to try to scare us into staying in the Black community because they say, oh, well, at the end of the day, you're still a Black woman and you're going to get beaten and killed by cops. Now, I will say this. My mom, my light-skinned mom, has been assaulted by a police officer. Okay, so it does happen, and I will not negate that. But at the same time, that's not every police officer, that's not every white person, that's not every non-black person. There are other ways to live outside of the black community as a light-skinned woman. Let me see what you're saying. EU says, isn't it interesting how exoticals are running away from blackness, but divestment is exactly, it's literally the same thing. Okay, so other things they count as running away from blackness, procreating with the light-skinned man if you're already light-skinned. They think you're trying to whitewash something. But divestment is literally the same thing. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. Now, obviously, there's something wrong with decentering men and pursuing someone just because of their race, but I don't think there's anything wrong with acknowledging that a current environment does not serve you. This current environment is not serving me, and until it does, I'm deuces. I'm out of here. Like there's nothing keeping me here, and I'm not stuck. Actually, no one is stuck. Um, Exoticals United said, Dulce, when you said you were monoracial, I was surprised because you come off as very multicultural to me. Yeah, it's just one of those, it's a habit. Like I said, it's a habit. Like my mom's birth certificate says Negro on it. Okay, so and she was born in the 70s. So when you think of the word Negro or like that racial classification in America, you don't really think of mixed race or multicultural anything, but that's what happened in America. Like they didn't care how light skinned you were or how mixed you were, you got labeled Negro. And it's one of those things that just got passed down, but things can change and we are changing that. And I am ready to jump out. I'm ready to jump out. And honestly, monoracial or mixed, what am I? I don't care anymore. I know who my people are. I know what my ancestry is. I know what my family fought for and stood for, what the women in my family represent, what the men in my family represent. And that's all that I need because there are some people out here who are making being monoracially black their entire identity and they're not even in touch with the stories from their grandmother's lives or the stories from their grandfather's lives? How can you identify so strongly with something that you don't even have awareness of? Instead, you're living vicariously through some monolithic idea of what blackness means. Oh yeah, my melanin is popping. The black man is God. No, like get in touch with your ancestors. Get in touch with your mother's mother and your dad's mother and your dad's dad. Find out what their lives were like. Honestly, that has been the most revealing or the most eye-opening thing for me as far as navigating my identity as a light-skinned Black woman. And I'm actually gonna give you an example. Let me read some more comments. Let's see. East Asian media just promotes light-skinned people more than the darker folks. Oh my God, yeah, they're not mixed. I live in the countryside rural area where there are no foreigners to mix blood with. Wow, that is amazing. Yeah, that's kind of sad that they promote light-skinned people. Because I would love to see like darker skin Japanese people that are not mixed. Like you're really fortunate to be up close and like see all of that diversity. Exoticals United says you are proof that you can be monoracial and multicultural. Yeah, yeah. When I looked at the stats, I did a video uh, months ago showing that most Black Americans they have the same amount, close to the same amount of African DNA that I have. So like somewhere around 75%, right? And they're still identifying as monoracial. So yeah, you can definitely be monoracial and multicultural, even if you're not born with that culture. You can always syncretize cultures. And I happen to live in an area where cultures are being syncretized a lot. Um, let's see, Exotical Honey said, Exoticals deserve to live in peace so we can relocate if we want. I am a proud negress. I like that. Unambiguous Black women are not proud. So they perceive exploring the world as running away. Wow, that is so profound. That is, thank you for saying that because you just brought like you just brought a new not a new an old memory to me that I didn't know that I had. My mom, she used to say, like, if you can't love yourself, you can't love anyone. If you can't be proud of yourself, you can't appreciate anyone. And yeah, that is so true. And honestly, it's not surprising because a lot of Black kids now in the school system, or not even now, but for years, ever since the what was it, desegregation, they're taught that Black people originated as slaves from Africa, and they're not taught anything about African history. For me, it was completely the other way around. But yeah, talking to your parents, talking to your grandparents, I think is so beneficial in understanding whether or not you should jump in or out of Blackness. I'll share one story with you guys that kind of helped me. And my mom recently told me this about a week ago when I went to go visit her. So my mom, she used to work as an escort, okay? And my mom is very, very fair skinned, but she has type 4 hair, okay? But she's like very fair skinned. She used to work as an escort, and she used to help other women do the same thing. Very, very high end clientele, very, very professional, right? And oftentimes she would have to go into areas that were predominantly white or that were remote. And when it comes to this industry, there's a lot of politics involved. So sometimes, like, a new mayor will come along and they want to clean up the streets. So they will actually work with people like escorts back in her day. Okay. Today, it might be something different. But mayors would work with escorts to help clean up the streets and not have that type of stuff just out there in the open like that, where you couldn't just be in the industry all willy-nilly. Anyways, oftentimes my mom would have to go to, different events like rodeos, um, things like that. I can't say the other specific events or I'm going to be like telling too much of my business. But every now and then she would have me with her if it was like a just a normal family friendly social gathering where she needed to make networking connections. And at that time I was reading and writing, and white people there in that area would look at us so weird. This is based on what she was telling me, because they thought that she was white. But when they saw me, I'm a little bit darker. They're like, "What is she doing with this brown baby, with this black child?" And this is an area where racism is rampant. Nothing bad ever happened to us because of how well I could read and write and how mannerable I was because of the way that my mom had raised me and was engaging with me. Anytime anyone would come up to us, I just immediately start talking, or I'm reading. I was very outgoing, very friendly, very intelligent. And wouldn't you know, at the rodeo, this white woman, she went up to my mom after, having conversation with us, and wrote her a $2,000 check, handed it to her and said, "And this is for any college that that little one wants to go to." Seriously. The judge that, my mom was working with would sometimes come by, and I would talk to him, and I was like, what, 3 or 4 years old, talking, reading and talking, right? So things like that, they actually do help break down barriers, break down socioeconomic or racial barriers that people feel are solid, that can never be broken down because of white supremacy or racial hierarchy. Now, did our skin tone contribute to how these people interacted with us? Yes, I will admit that. But my point is that when people have negative perceptions of you, you can't really control that. All you can do is just be the best person you can be. That's all you can do. And yeah, so that's why I don't really perceive it as running away. I just perceive it as figuring out what works best for you. And when my mom told me this, I remember telling her, "Hey, why didn't you just like move us out there in that area?" She said, "Well, because even though she had mostly positive experiences with the white people in that area, she was still afraid and scared of, some race fueled tragedy happening to us." Basically, it was a result of fear mongering. She was just too scared to take that leap, to take that jump. But yeah, that's how I understood that, she would have been better off that way. The other side of this is that anything could have happened. If anything bad happened to me in that situation, those people would have been there to support her. Like this nothing bad had happened at all, and this white woman wrote her a freaking $2,000 check for my education. But if something bad were to happen, like the new trophy wife situation, black people, like her black family members, would have crucified her. They already didn't like the fact that she was able to go into these white spaces, not have to do anything grotesque, and be able to come home with thousands, right? They were upset about that, right? But in addition to that, my mom told me that there were people in our family that tried to see if they could get away with something happening to me. If you don't know, my mom was actually a child SA victim. So she did everything that she could to prevent that from happening. And she did tell me that one day she got home to, because one of my family members was like watching me while she was out working. And she got back just in the nick of time because for some reason, the family member who was watching me had invited a bunch of other family members, some of which who were the same people who were touching my mother when she was a child. And she had got back just in the nick of time, right before they started like pulling up to the house. And it's like, why are you over here? You know, weird things like that. Like, and that's why I say like this whole new trophy wife thing really triggered me because I could see straight through it that
Black people, they just don't, or the Black community, and I'm not saying all Black people, because there are some Black people that supported New Trophy Wife, but the Black community in general, they don't want to see you make it as a light skinned Black woman, especially if you are the mother of a light skinned child. Like, they want you to fail and they want you to like grovel while they like make fun of you and tell you that you're stupid for doing this, for even tell you that you're stupid for even thinking that you could, you know, have some soft life or have a privileged lifestyle or be in that non-Black area and and have a peaceful life or have a peaceful experience. If anything bad were to happen to us, our family would not have been there to support us. They would have ridiculed us. And similar things like that have some things like that have happened like later when I got older. Some things like that happened. Unfortunately, you know, there was an incident with my brother, with my younger brother, and so that was the way that the family responded. And so this is just another one of those reasons why I say it's important to talk to your family and understand what what your individual family members' experiences are, especially if they are light skinned, so that that can inform you whether or not you need to jump out of Blackness or stay in Blackness. And after my personal research, yeah, jumping out of Blackness is definitely the thing for me. Um, yeah, I don't know what else I don't know what else I want to say. I just felt like venting because of all the drama going on. I really did feel like venting. But yeah, running away, I don't think anyone should be afraid to explore the world or run away from something that is causing them harm. Run away from it. What did they say? Burn the cape. Like, absolutely burn your cape. And speaking of like going to other countries, I was gonna join this group that was for Black women who like internationally travel or Black women who move abroad. I am so glad that I did not. They came to, excuse me. So they were going to have a gathering in my city and I was going to join, but I ended up being too busy because I was at another function that was at in a multicultural space and I ended up spending too much time there. And so when I checked back to see, like, oh, what did they do? What did they talk about? Because, you know, they're going to post everything online. I saw the group, and literally everyone in the group was older than me. They were all darker than me. Like, they were all dark skinned. I didn't see one light skinned Black woman. They were all dressed in like very, very casual clothing, like almost like workout clothing and not the cute kind, not the cute kind of workout clothing. And I was like, I'm so glad that I did not go because that would not have served me. Excuse me. That would not have served me because even though they were interested in doing the same things that I'm interested in, like internationally traveling or, you know, moving abroad, like there was the lack of diversity that was there. Just, I don't know, it just rubbed me the wrong way. People always say, oh, Black women are so diverse. Black women are so diverse. And I do believe that. But time and time again, I'm seeing that diversity is not encouraged within, you know, Black female spaces. And I'm not saying that they like plan for it to happen that way, but excuse me. But you know, when like there's a wavelength, like there's a certain frequency and a wavelength that like people just gather around, like who have that same frequency and wavelength. So I think that's kind of what happened. And I'm glad that I wasn't a part of it. That's another thing too. Like if you're considering moving out of the country or not even moving out of the country, but like moving to a different city, right? And you are a Black identified woman, or maybe you're like me where you're just kind of in between and you just jump in and out as you please. Look at people who look like you and learn what their experiences are because some people they have a really negative experience or a really positive experience in a certain place, but it's not going to be the same for you because you look completely different. Yeah, so like I remember I was watching this video of this girl who lives in Dubai, and she's a black woman. I consider her to be a light-skinned black woman. She had a very positive experience. And then I saw a bunch of videos from dark-skinned black women who also moved to Dubai. They were saying, "Don't move to Dubai, don't move to Dubai." And you know, their experience was very negative. Now, is that fair? No, it's not fair that unfortunately light-skinned black women are having a more positive experience living in this country than dark-skinned black women, but it's valuable information, right? So because it's not fair or it's not, you know, politically correct, as a light-skinned woman, you shouldn't be like, "Oh, well, you know, I'm not gonna move to this country because this dark-skinned black woman said that she hated it and that it's anti-black, and I don't want to live anywhere that's like." Don't do that because that's not necessarily going to be your experience, especially if you see other women who look like you having a good experience. Again, is it right? No, but you can't make personal decisions about your personal life from a social justice warring stance. Like, you can't be a social justice warrior and expect that you're going to be happy in the end. Like, at the end, you're going to be like, what did I do all of this for? Why did I do all of this? I'm not even happy. And for what? So that I could be fair. Exotical Honey says, your story resonates. Education and class can permeate any racial barriers. Oh wow, I'm so glad that you agree because honestly, I thought I was gonna get backlash for that because so far I am the only person that I know that is I'm the only person that I know like in real life that has actually done that. Um, like done it so consistently. Being raised in families that value decorum and education has taken me far in multicultural spaces. Yeah, you live in Japan. Yeah, that's so cool. And I'm so sure you speak Japanese. 私も日本語喋ります. I also speak Japanese, but just a little bit. ちょっとだけ. Just a little bit. I'm like really rusty. But yeah, education, and there's so many different types of education. Like, I feel like in the Black community, when it comes to valuing education, we think about Black excellence, and we only think about education from the American perspective. For example, like, oh, you know, go to this HBCU or go to this, you know, Ivy League university or go do this, do X, Y, and Z. Like, it's so cookie cutter, and it doesn't have to be. I feel that real education would be cultivating curiosity in our children, like cultivating real curiosity in our children and having like experiences with them that teach them real lessons. You know, that's also education, not just sending them to school and telling them that they have to pay Black tax and they have to be representation of Black excellence. And then like you complain about, you know, diversity and inclusion and affirmative action being taken away when there are other ways to achieve the same things that those things are trying to achieve. You don't have to always rely on an institution to break down a barrier. You can actually do it yourself, like outside of the system. And I think that's one of the ways by fostering like a genuine curiosity with other people's cultures, a genuine curiosity with other people's experiences. And it's so funny to me because I see Black women on TikTok having whole debates about how white people cannot experience racism, leading white people to feel very invalidated. Meanwhile, Black people only make up 13% of the American population and are constantly talking about being oppressed by white people. Okay, so if you don't want white people to oppress you, why would you lean in on trying to invalidate what they believe they experience? People are so obsessed with being right and with being right or wrong that they're missing out on the fact that this is not the way that you social climb. This is not the way that you break down a racial barrier by telling another group of people that they don't experience something that they feel that they do experience. If anything, you're just creating more division. But yeah, that's a whole other conversation. Let's see. Exotical Honey says, light skinned, brown skinned women can thrive in other countries. I highly recommend it. Thank you. It's freeing because race becomes a non factor outside of the USA. Yeah, and check out Exotical Honey because she makes a lot of videos. I really like your videos. She makes a lot of videos about how Black women can, travel to these other countries, like actually how, like the steps that you would need to take. And just the experience of life there in these specific countries. And she lives in Japan, by the way, you guys. So she's not just speaking from theory or trying to sell you something. Like she's speaking from her actual experience. Exotical Honey says, "Subarashi." Wonderful. Subarashi means wonderful, you guys. I speak survival Japanese. My Spanish is better because I'm from Texas. Nice. Well, you live there in Japan, so your Japanese skills can only increase from there. That's so cool that you speak. And that's another thing too, like it is so difficult in America, I feel like, to meet people who or meet Black people or meet mixed people who are really curious about other cultures. At least where I'm from. I'm in the South. So it could just be where I am located. And when I say mixed people, I'm talking about Black identified mixed people like myself, like people who are like just Black identified just because whatever. I don't know, it's almost like we are scared to explore other cultures, or we're scared to be a minority, you know, but it's like we're already a minority. Like you're already only 13% of the population. So like then what else do you have to fear? You know? I feel like a lot of the things that we deal with in a Black community, we wouldn't have to deal with outside of it. And I'm not saying that we should be in a community where there aren't any Black people, but I feel like we should be in a community where you don't have that Black monolithic thinking, that, oh, you can't be skinny, you can't be light skinned, you can't have freckles, you can't have loose curl hair, you can't speak other languages, you can't do yoga, you can't do like all of these things. Like it's just so oppressive and it's so tiring. And I'm surprised that more dark-skinned Black women aren't speaking out about that. Because if, as a light skinned woman, I'm feeling the pressure, or I have experienced in the past the pressure to conform to a Black monolith, I'm so sure that they do. But no one is, I don't understand what's going on. No one is speaking out about that. Like we always say we want to be free, but then we don't free ourselves. Like we just stay inside of this little bubble. Like I said, you guys, I'm just venting. Oh my God, I have been live for 48 minutes. Yeah, I'm just venting. And no, I'm not crashing out. If you're a hater and you're watching, I'm not crashing out. I already have recorded content and I'm coming for you, okay? All you haters, I'm coming for you. That's one thing I don't do. I don't just roll over. I don't just like let stuff slide and let stuff. It may take a minute for me to process, but I'm coming for you. New trophy wife, I'm talking about that. Hierone, I'm talking about you. This is so funny. What's that? Oh, and I just finished recording. I'm recording a video talking about that girl that was like, "I love being skinny." Yeah, bitch, we love being skinny. Like, wake up. Black women can like being skinny. Any woman can like being skinny, and it shouldn't be an issue. Like, it's getting unbearable. That's why I had to go live because that video. That video where like she started talking about, I'm so sure you guys have seen it, especially if you watch Exoticals United's video, especially if you've seen that video. Yeah, it was just so crazy. She was talking about political statements and shit about being skinny, and I'm just like, what? That video was the camel that broke or the feather or whatever they say, that was the feather that broke the camel's back. And I was just like, oh, this is too much. I'm just gonna have to go live at this point. Like, yeah. Let's see. Exalted United. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Yamina. I only just arrived to the live because I was doing a long shower to wash and decondition my hair. Okay. And then Exoticals United said, I'm assuming Kier Rowan was not trying to start beef, but I do want to make sure the exotical space is being defended upon. I don't know, because I saw some of her comments and she just keeps on saying being light skinned doesn't automatically make you pretty. Being mixed doesn't automatically make you pretty. I so bad wanted to like be a keyboard warrior. I struggle with that, you guys. I struggle with resisting the urge to be a keyboard warrior. And I wanted to tell her, okay, well, being just because you're dark skinned doesn't automatically make you ugly. Like, what? Like, what? Why are we even saying this? Like, I'm just so tired of it. I'm tired of it. Yeah, she called the girl fascist for being skinny. Like, I was like, get out of here. It's always it's always the fascist oppressive people trying to claim that they're being oppressed. Bella Rain is here. Hey Bella. I have not been active in like the Discord and Exoticals United community, and I haven't really been active in the in my Buy Me a Coffee thing. You know, if you guys don't know, like Buy Me a Coffee is like Patreon, so it's like very similar. Um, But yeah, I am gonna do a live on what is this Saturday because I have been piecing together everything that I want to say about this new trophy wife stuff. Until then, probably gonna publish that skinny video or whatever. But yeah, it's too much. It's way too much. Like I just want to be human. I just want to be a human person. And if being leaning into my what is it, 24 or 25%? I don't remember, somewhere around there. 24%, 25% European ancestry allows me to exist as a human. I'll take it. Whatever allows you to exist as a if being skinny allows you to exist as a human, do that shit. If going vegan and vegetarian allows you to enjoy life and love existing and have fun, like do that shit. Like seriously, like don't don't worry about how everyone else feels because they're just miserable because they haven't realized that they can do the same thing too. You know, they can do the exact same thing too. Oh my God, another memory. Okay, so again, I'm ranting, you guys. So sorry. But like I was saying, like they have the same ability to social climb as we do, whether or not they know that, regardless of how they look. It is so true, right? So when I think I was in middle school. Yeah, I was in middle school, and I was in a predominantly black school in an impoverished neighborhood. Wouldn't you know that those kids there, they are actually more, they were more accepting of me than the black schools in the suburbs. But, you know, when I first got there, automatically people were like, oh, yeah, you know, you're different, you know, because at that time I had really started to practice other languages. And this girl, she kept on picking on me, like, oh, you know, you're white and you're trying to act like a white girl. That's not real. Da 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 da. And I had to keep showing her, like, actually, this is real. You know, here are some examples of Black people who have done that. Like, I remember teaching her about Condoleezza Rice because she was making fun of me for wanting to be a judge, you know, and she just didn't know. She didn't know that, you know, Black people could accomplish certain things or could live, you know, different lives. At that point, I had already experienced what it was like to be vegetarian. Um, you know, my dad has like freaking blonde hair and he's from freaking Haiti. So, you know, things like that that I had to like keep like exposing her to. And she actually finally got it. And I earned my respect by not wavering and always standing up for myself and correcting people, right? But that even can get tiring. Again, I was a kid, so I guess I had the energy. But that is proof right there that, anyone can do those things if they just open their minds, if they allow themselves to be open to that information, they are actually free. And I actually like started helping that girl like learn other languages for the short time that I was there. But I'm so sure that that made a huge difference. I think people make the mistake of tokenizing different Black people in history and saying, oh, that's just because they're like different. People did that even with me and my mom. Like they felt like I was too smart to be my mother's child. Like, oh, that has nothing to do with the way you raise her. She's just smart like that. Black people always do that, but that is again a symptom of being of internalizing oppression, believing that you're just unworthy or that you're not good enough. That's another thing that I guess you could say I'm running away from. Like I'm running away from that ideology that, because of the circumstances I was born into, that I'm not worthy enough. Like I'm leaving that behind. I left that behind years ago, but sometimes there's still remnants of that. Little things like not having a passport or not understanding how to like do your taxes, things like that, not understanding how to run a functional household. A lot of people, I have seen a lot of people in my community, in the Black community, give up on trying to learn those things and just exporting it to whiteness, or just saying that they're not smart enough or not worthy enough to figure it out. There are so many people in the Black community that are living in a dysfunctional household and don't even know it. It's so funny because I saw, again, I'm ranting, you guys. So thank you for listening. I don't know how long this is going to go, but I'm just ranting. I saw on Facebook this woman, she was a Black woman. She posted, let's normalize, let's normalize what a Thursday morning looks like. And she was showing her house, and her house was so messy. Like the dishes were piled up in the sink. There were like clothes all over the place. And it was very familiar. And like seeing that was triggering for me because unfortunately, that was kind of the environment that I had to grow up in for whatever reason. Um, but she wasn't her house was nice, right? Like her house was not small. It was a big house. It was not like a shabby house, like the type of house that I grew up in. All right. I don't think she was in the hood at all, at all. So just from my perspective, like I didn't feel like she had any excuse. She didn't say like, oh, I'm dealing with this or I have a young child or anything like that. And I'm just like, that's not normal though. That's not normal. It's not normal for your kids to like stay in the bedroom because they feel like they can control that environment better than they can control everywhere else in the house. Like that type of stuff. Like, and then when you try to correct it or say, hey, like you can do things better this way, it's like, oh, you're trying to do respectability politics, or you're trying to you're yeah respectability politics. They'll bring up respectability politics, trying to be white, trying to act privileged when you just want a peaceful, clean house. You just want to do a little bit better than your parents did, you know. So that's another thing. That's another reason why I feel like jumping out of blackness right now is it's about time to. I really want to learn real life skills that we miss out on as Black people. And why don't Black people get online and talk about all the life skills that are missing from their toolkit? Can we do that? Like, can we talk about that? Well, you want to talk about the identity issues that mixed people have, that light skinned people have, the way that white people don't experience racism. Okay, can we talk about how black people don't experience a peaceful household, a functional household? Can we talk about that? Life skills. When I say life skills, I'm talking about conflict resolution and communication. I'm talking about being able to maintain routines. Routines. Oh, yes. Routines is something that's something that's passed down typically from generation to generation. So you don't even have to think about it. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed a comment. What's going on? Bellarine said, "You're so patient. I would have just called her names." Yeah, at this age, I probably would do the same. It's so weird because in a lot of ways, I feel like I was more mature and diplomatic as a child, and like now I'm not. But yeah, as a child, I was very like bossy. Like you couldn't bully me, and I was gonna correct you, and I was gonna make you understand. Like, and I still am like that to this day, but not as much. Uh, Bellarine said, same experience in my own world. I've curated beauty all around me, stimulating environment. My mom can't stay over my house too long because it's too. Wow. Yes. Like some Black family members will get so triggered because of the environment that you have created for yourself, because of the life skills you have mastered or are beginning to master. Like it literally triggers them. The same way that light skin, liking your light skin will trigger somebody in the Black community the same way that, you know, eating healthy and taking care of your body will trigger someone in the Black community. It's the same way how, like, if you have a peaceful home or you create a peaceful environment, that can be triggering for them. I have actually experienced that with some of my family members, and they call me weird for it and stuff like, oh, her and her mama, they weird. They weird. They into that weird stuff. Be having those singing bowls playing in the background. Yeah. Yeah, because I don't know. It's just we didn't get taught those things, and so we had to work really hard to attain those things and maintain them. And when you think that something is normal, it's easy to fight for it, right? When you think that something is normal and you're accustomed to someone trying to critique you because of your race or your color or whatever, I can understand why you might be defensive or apprehensive to take that criticism or to take what they're saying. But when you start like developing a real curiosity for the way that other people live, excuse me, that's when you start to see that, okay, something's not quite right over here. Like, you know what? That actually feels a little bit better. Let me try to do that instead. It took me, just full disclosure here, because I feel like it needs to be talked about in this conversation of why I'm jumping out of blackness. And I'm not saying that, I don't want to say that like this is something that is just specific to Black people, but in my family and in other Black families that I know that this is a real issue, okay? But it took me a long time to get in the routine of um, making sure that I like brush my hair every day on my own. When I was a preteen, okay? Again, I lived in a socioeconomically challenged area, in an impoverished situation, um, for a big chunk of my childhood. So a lot of things that you would want your mother to do for you, or someone else to do for you, you may not be able to rely on them, right? So, or it may not even be something that anyone's thinking about because of the other pressing urgent matters at hand, right? So that was one of the things that took me a long time to really get a grip on, and I didn't get a good grip on it until, like, I don't know, like my last year of high school or college, just because I had been, looking at what other people do, looking at, oh, how did she get her hair to look like that? It looks so nice. What did she do? Let me just watch and observe. And I'm so sure a lot of us have those kinds of experiences. Another example would be I mentioned earlier before, like learning how to do your taxes or getting your passport or making sure that your registration is like up to date. These seem like really basic, normal things to do that like you probably shouldn't have to think too much about doing. But these are the exact same things that like just I don't know, for whatever reason they just go under the rug in the black community. And then we wonder why, like, oh, the police always have a problem, or we're always having to deal with this administrative issue. Well, it's because you didn't handle your business when it was time to handle your business. But yeah, yeah, I feel like I'm spiraling, guys. Am I spiraling? I feel like everyone needs to just like spiral for a little bit, you know, just for a little bit, just get it out there. Not day in and day out. Like I've never done this before. So she said, "Oh, these days I'll just walk away from the conversation and I'm so for real." Yeah, walk away. We are too old. Okay. When I was little, I had so much energy. I had so much hope for the world. I was very much a kumbaya type of person. I'm not that person anymore. Yes, am I peaceful? Yes. But I'm not about to waste my breath trying to convince you that you're free. Like what? When she first started coming to my house and my children were listening to classical music and eating apples. Oh my God, that is so adorable. She was making all kinds of comments. Yeah, I can imagine. My grandma used to do the same thing. Why are you having her read that? Why are you having her go to that school? Why is she, you think she is better than everybody else? Why are you doing that? Yeah, yep. My grandma wouldn't even let my mom ice skate. Again, my mom is very fair skinned. She grew up in the 70s and the 80s. My grandma wouldn't even let my mom ice skate because she felt like it was gonna get to her head because she was too fair skinned and she was gonna think that she was a white girl. So yeah. Exotical Hundy says Condi was my idol growing up. Oh, Condoleezza Rice. Yeah. It's sad that some Black people don't know modern Black historical figures. They glorify degenerate entertainers, but ignore notable professionals in other industries. Yes, exactly. And honestly, I feel like it does have to do with skin tone and also the fact that a lot of the Black historical figures did happen to be mixed. I mean, obviously, they don't know. There are quite a few people who don't even know about them. But I feel like even the people who do know about them, they kind of shy away from giving them a spotlight, at least in the recent years, because of the fact that they're mixed or that they're light skinned. Let me just, and I actually consider Condoleezza Rice to be that safe brown skin tone. So I consider her to be light skinned. Others I consider to be light skinned as well. Toni Morrison, Alice Walker, she's safe brown skin tone. Rosa Parks, Barack Obama, of course they're mixed, right? But they're also that same like skin tone shade. Um, and also there was a woman, her name is Annie Turnbow. Annie Turnbow was the daughter of a slave, okay? But she was a light skinned Black woman who created her own university, like her own college for cosmetology. She actually taught Madam C.J. Walker, and she taught Black women the chemistry and the science behind hair care. Okay. And all of her work has been erased. All of Annie Turnbow's work has been erased because of the natural hair movement. You guys have seen that Netflix movie with Madam C.J. Walker, and I think it's called Madam C.J. or something like that. It's the name of it is actually her name. The light skinned chick in that movie or in that series is supposed to be Annie Turnbow, and they make it seem like it was this. light skin versus dark skin or this monoracial versus mixed thing when it wasn't that. Annie Turnbull and Madam C.J. Walker had an amazing relationship with each other. Annie Turnbull was the founder of that college, and oh, I wish I could remember the name of that college. I'll probably make a video about it. But Madam C.J. Walker was her student, and they each had their like separate inventions. Okay, it was not a light skin versus dark skin thing, but because Annie Turnbull was a very light skinned woman, you have all of these people ignoring her work and creating this natural hair movement from I guess like 2010 and forward, erasing everything that she taught. There was no need for a curl typing chart. There was no need for you know, all these videos to be like, oh, do the LOC method or the LCO method. She had already developed and taught the science to educate the cosmetologists. But now, like, Black women have turned their backs on that knowledge, and excuse me, it's had an effect on our ability to get our hair done because cosmetologists are sick of it. Cosmetologists are sick of us arguing with them and the crap that we took them through during the whole natural hair movement. And they all either like caved in and decided to do all of the harmful natural hair care practices, or they left the industry and they said, I'm not doing hair again because I'm not about to argue with people when I spent time and money learning this profession and getting my certificate and other degrees and what have you. So that's another example of how, you know, we every time we get a hold of something good, this woman was the daughter of a slave, and she an entire college teaching cosmetology and hair care for Black women so that they could start their own businesses and do other Black women's hair. Every time we come across something good, we spoil it and we destroy it piece by piece. That's why I'm jumping out of Blackness, you guys. Because I'm tired of going through this cycle where every time we move one step forward, we push ourselves two steps back. And Sawful Honey says, wow, amazing. I want to know about this pioneer. How do I spell Annie's last name? Turnbow. So let me type it in there. Annie Turnbow. Yeah, that's her name. And Netflix made a whole series painting her as a villain that took Madam C.J. Walker's man. Like, what? It's the villainization of light skinned women for me. That's what it is for me. It's the erasure of Black history just to get rid of light skinned people for me. Like, I'm tired. I'm tired of it. And I'm tired. Like, oh my God, I was so brainwashed. Back in 2020, when that George Floyd mess happened, I was so brainwashed. I was literally sitting up here, full confession, you guys. I was sitting up here thinking that mixed women were the enemy. Because the reason I thought this was because when I looked in media, I did not see light skinned Black women, like monoracial light skinned Black women, right? I saw dark skinned Black women and I saw mixed women. That's what I saw. And if they happened to be light skinned monoracial Black women, they were like, you know, older. They weren't in my age range, or they were like, you'd have to go way back and watch some old Black movies like Eve's Bayou, you know, old movies, right? I was like, we need some new media showing light skinned Black women, and listening to Chrissy and Cynthia G and everybody else. They had me thinking that it was mixed women erasing light skinned Black women from the scene. All along, it's been Black women. It's been monoracial Black women erasing light skinned Black women. So Annie Turnbow was just was just one example. Raven Simone is another example, you guys. She opened up talking about how they made her, uh, you know, tan her skin, spray tan her skin so she could appear darker. And people like to say, "Oh, you're not that light skinned. Oh, she's not light skinned." So a lot of people, a lot of Black people watching that show, the Raven Simone show, probably didn't register her as a light skinned girl. I didn't either, but not because I was really paying attention, because I was a child. So I wasn't even registering her as anything else other than a Black woman. So I did see myself in her, and I saw myself in other dark skinned Black women as well. But as I got older, like I said, like around like 2020, that's when I was like, hey, wait a second. Where are all the light skinned Black women at? And I thought mixed women were the enemy. Nope. Nope. It was our own people. It's the dark skinned Black women. It's also the other light skinned Black women that are light skinned saviors, and the dark skinned Black men. And I used to think that, speaking of men, I used to think that light skinned Black men like had some type of complex about light skinned women. That's not true. It's not true at all. They're not out here trying to humiliate us and erase us. No. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna land my plane here. But before I go, um, does anyone want to say anything or any final comments? Yamina says, "Tell it. People sure made it seem they were the enemy. Terrible behavior." Yep. Yep. I'm just sick of the lies. Like, they're always trying to make it seem like someone else is the boogeyman. Like, okay, if it's not the white man, then it's mixed chick. Not the mixed man, but the mixed chick. They're the boogeyman. But it's like, guys, like just reflect on yourselves. Reflect on what's going on in your community and like work that shit out. Like, Black people could accomplish so much if they just stopped thinking about white people and the system and stopped thinking about mixed people for a second. You know? Like, and that, it just boggles my mind. Like, why are Black women talking so much shit right now about new trophy wife? About, like, and they say, and the reason I'm questioning them, because obviously they're like, new trophy wife is Black. But the reason I'm questioning that is because I saw the comments. They were all saying that, oh, she's not even Black, she's mixed, disparaging her and, discrediting her Blackness because of her skin tone and her phenotype. Okay, so why is she relevant to you in the first place? That's what I mean. Like, if Black people just stop thinking about what mixed light skinned people are doing, what white people are doing for just, I don't know, a year, maybe just 1 year, or maybe a full 4 years, a full election, a full presidential, what do they call that? A full presidential era of just focusing on what Black people do. We could accomplish so much, or they could accomplish. We, they, whatever. Oh my God. I'm done, you guys. I'm done. I'm going to go ahead and go to bed. Like I said before, live on Saturday, private live on Saturday. So you have to be in the membership on Buy Me a Coffee. We're going to talk about new trophy life. I'm not doing that on public YouTube because it's too much. And then until then, I'll publish that video, the skinny. I love being skinny. I love being skinny. Yes, I do. I was skinny after I gave birth. I should make a video about that too. No stretch marks. But anyways, have a great evening and happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for watching.